And I know the world appreciate that because so many times people overlook conversations like this. Mm-hmm. They overlook the aspects of trying to identify what does strong mean. Many people say, "Oh yeah, I lift weights. I go work out every week. You know, I'm fit. I'm in shape. I'm ready for the summer." But they don't look at the mentality of what can break a mindset down. And then when you look at the family, it starts there. Because how, and I'm going to go to the next question in just a minute, but when you get a male and female together as husband and wife, then kids come on the scene. So before I go any further, I want to know from a young man perspective, what does it mean to be strong as a child?
To be strong, what does it mean to be strong as a child? Ooh. Well, to be strong as a child, you need to learn. That's how do you need to be strong as a child. You need to learn those simple things that your mom and dad teaches you, like the sky, the ABCs. This is actually this is what my mom and dad have told me. They told me this. They taught me all of this. They taught me what the sky is. It's blue, and they taught me like ABCs. And then once I got older, all that they taught me. They were teaching me God, and so they slowly were teaching me things. And then Bryson came, and we both had each other's backs. I would say we both had each other's backs, and so that, I think that's how you become strong as a child. You're learning slowly, but in the future, you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, "Wow, that's really helped me." As an adult, you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, "That's really helped me." All the things I've done and learned from my parents, they've really helped me, and that's what I got out of that.
Now that's a powerful statement, man. I like that. Let's give my man a hand. Man, he is on point. Now I got a question though before you ask that question. I want to know, when you said that you and Bryson had each other back, what y'all did? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that. But that's a great and powerful point. And to conclude that, in a sense, it takes the husband and wife as they begin to have kids. Now the kids are growing to do the same thing. And that's what populates society. And from that family stems what does a family look like in the essence of strength and how to sustain in society as it pertains to their mentality and how to deal with, as Brother Wallace mentioned from the beginning, the aspects of what makes a person holistic mentality, their abilities, their strengths, their qualities to thrive in society. Brother Smarts, what would you was about to say?
My question was for Xavier. What is the most profound principle you learned from your parents? Sometimes it's like how to be honest or how to tell the truth or how to keep God first or different things. What do you think?
I think not lying was the most biggest principle, because every time I lied, it was bad. I always get a whooping.
I told you not to tell nobody.
I'm sorry. But it always bad, because lying is always not good. You might get away with lying, but sooner or later it's gonna come back and get you. So I think lying is the principle.
I was deathly afraid of my dad. I mean, absolutely. And not only me, everyone was afraid of my dad. My dad walked with a slow bop and wore gloves all the time, so he looked like he just, maybe committed a crime. Everyone that I knew was deathly afraid of my dad. And as I got older, I realized something, that the first thing I learned was fear. And although my dad never, beat me down or anything like that, I understood something from that. As I got older, I read Proverbs, first chapter. One of the first things it says is, the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. That's the very first thing I learned. I didn't learn the fear of the Lord, I learned the fear of my dad, but I didn't understand that there can be a correlation between those two. I learned that my dad decided to do different things so that people would respect him. Now with God, it was a little different. So when I became a father myself, I looked for traits in my son. To answer your question, what does it mean to be a strong child? I think a strong child is an obedient child. And what I mean by obedient is not, like you would, do an animal or anything like that. I mean that the child has the perspective of my parents have my best interest at heart. I want to do everything I can to listen and to learn from them so that I can not only be like them, but be better. Good parents are transparent with their kids. They tell them not only what they're doing, if they're disciplining their child, they tell them why they're disciplining them. Not just, hey, don't run in the streets, but why it's important not to run in the streets. You get hit by a car, different things. But as long as the child can develop with that obedient attitude, meaning I am in the process of learning, and one day I too will teach someone else. So it's important that I remain obedient so that I can learn as much as I possibly can, and then take that knowledge and pass it on to either my children or those who I'm a father to, who may not be necessarily my offspring. I think that obedient children use that information, and that eventually can develop into their personality. And then you'll see them individually implement things that they learn from their parents, the good things, and not so much the bad things.
Amen. I appreciate that, man. And that really goes into our final question on strong. What does it mean to be a strong member of the family? Brother Wallace, you ready to say something?
To be a strong member of the family means that there is a role that you are responsible in playing, and you play that role. An example would be that a father is a provider. He is a protector. He provides for the family, whatever that may be, whether that is from a monetary purpose, meaning he has a job. He actually works. He does not sleep all day long and then runs the streets all night long. He understands the role and the responsibility in ensuring that the family remains strong. And might I just add this part as well? It starts with us. It starts with the men. It starts with the father. It starts with the husband to allow the trickle down effect to take place in one's household to ensure that it's strong. The mother plays an important role. Her responsibility is to nurture and nourish the family, and she does that by providing those things that are essential for the growth and the development of a child. Xavier said that his mother we taught him his ABCs. We taught him that God made the sky. The sky is blue because that's the color God chose for it to be. So those things are important from the role of a mother and a wife who is supportive of her husband, who is essentially, as what was said in Genesis, she is the helpmeet. So she helped with the development of the family from a perspective of doing everything she can to help the husband, help the father, to help the man of the household. The children, as Brother Smots has so eloquently said, should be obedient. They are taught, they are trained, yes, and I mean trained. They are taught and trained. They are like what was stated, Moses in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, verse number 6 and 7. Any opportunity that a father or a mother has to teach a child, whether it's when they're laying down at night, you're teaching them about God. And how do you do that? Well, before you go to bed, does the family conduct prayer together? is the husband leading the charge, praying prior to the family going to bed and laying down for the night? Is the child now learning, a young man or an adolescent or a young boy sees the father now as a role model? He is the example of the household. The father, that husband, that man is an example. If she's a young girl, she sees the type of husband that she wants because she sees the example. She watches her dad and their interaction, his interaction with his wife, who is the mother of the household, who nurtures and nourishes that household. That's hugely important for what Dee says. What does it mean to be a strong member of the family? It means that you've taken on that responsibility and you are holding yourself accountable to ensuring that your part of this family unit is not just strengthened, but not just strong, but always continuously growing stronger. Satan never stops. Satan does not cease his attack on the church and the family. And again, families are the makeup of the kingdom of God. And if he destroys the family in his attacks, then he knows he's destroying the church.
Yeah, all right. And that brings us to our next one, which is not just having a strong family based on this great knowledge y'all have shared with the world, and y'all helping me too, because I ain't got kids yet. Me and my wife, we still working on that. But what makes a family happy? We'll start off, what makes Brother Smocks happy?
Let me see, that's depend on the day. Sometimes a meal from 54th Street can make me happy. No, being in all serious, being completely honest, the things that make me happy on a daily basis is pretty much waking up, understanding that here you got another opportunity to make something right that was previously wrong, or maybe get a little closer to an individual who you may have overlooked the previous day, building a relationship with someone else. I look at everything pretty much as an opportunity. Sometimes it's an opportunity to rest when you know you're overexerted. But in the context of family, seeing my family, and I mean not only just my immediate family, but my extended family, my congregation, my church family, seeing individuals with the desire to do good, the desire to simply be better than the person that they were the day before. That's the stuff that really makes me happy.
Okay, all right. Brother Wallace, no, let's go to Lil Wallace. What makes you happy, man?
Well, what makes me happy is waking up every morning, breathing, and then going on my bike rides every day. Yeah, because when I go on my bike rides, it's peaceful. There's no one around, just riding the bike. And another thing that makes me happy is seeing Bryson every day, my brother, and him screaming every single day in the game. It just makes me happy when that all happens. And
Is that called raging?
yeah, it's raging. It's raging. So yeah. So yeah, that's what makes me happy. And my family too.
All right. We got Big Wallace. What makes you happy, man?
What makes me happy is to see my family happy. It is overjoyed. It just puts joy in my heart. What makes me happy is to hear them laughing, to hear Xavier laugh, or to hear Bryson laugh. And it reminds me of when I was young, and we as adults, if we're Judgment Day honest, we've lost some of that as we grow. That happiness, that joy, that contentment, that feeling of pleasure. Once you start getting a job, you have a family, you have children, you've got other outside entities that are constantly nagging at you, you have distractions, it kind of removes some of your joy. It takes away some of the happiness. But man, just to sit back, sometimes just to sit back and watch them interact, Xavier and Bryson, and to know that there is no care in the world, everything is covered for them. That brings me joy to see them happy, to hear that, and their laughs are so different. Bryson had that really goofy laugh, and it makes you even want to laugh more at the laugh and not just because of the excitement or the joy they're having. And then Xavier's got a very different laugh, a very kind of quiet laugh, but a big smile on his face, and you just see the joy in his heart. That makes me happy when the family is that way. I love to see my wife smile. You know what I love most about my wife? That I know when she's happy? When she laughs at one of my dumb jokes, because she don't laugh at no joke of answering. There is nothing funny to her, but when it is, every blue moon now, she'll laugh, and it just makes me happy to see that I made her laugh.
That is powerful that you mentioned that, man. Being a young man, me and my wife coming up on 2 years in October, being married, and to realize that same statement, I ask her every so often, I say, sweetheart, what attracts you the most about me? We ain't talking about it before we got married, but now that we done went through the engagement phase, the dating phase, we got married, now we're coming up on 2 years. What is it that continues to have that ultimate attraction? And she said the same thing. She said, you have a great sense of humor. A long time ago, I didn't know what that means. But now I see even the smallest thing, Schofield's face. And that helps me, and that makes me happy, because that lets me know that something is going even more of a thriving mechanism for our unit. And as we produce kids in the future, it's going to be a great avenue to teach them all the things that we're learning from one another and about life. So that's powerful. Very, very powerful. And then the next thing is, what makes your family happy? And y'all kind of covered that, so we're going to skip over it. But healthy. Now, not only do a family need to be strong, not only does a family need to be happy, but they also need to be healthy. Yeah. So in order for a family to be healthy, what does a person do in order to be healthy? Brother Xavier, what you got, man?
In order for a person to be healthy each and every day, they can pray each and every day. They can set their mindset to positive things each and every day. Make sure that they clear their minds each and every day on the good things that will happen in their lives, and not the negative things that will happen in their mind. Like clear your head and reset your mind, and think of the positive things that you want to happen on that day and the next day. And if the negative things come, just meditate or go to God in prayer and just help, and just press that reset button, because the positive things are going to help you. They're helping you become more healthier, and it'll help other people become healthier as well. You can help other people become healthier.
All right. Those are powerful answers. Then next, how does one person's healthy lifestyle help someone else be healthy?
Brother Schofield, that's an excellent question. I believe that communication is one of the top concerns in families. And we're talking about a spiritually healthy family. It's good that we're eating right. It's good that we're exercising. It's good that the proper nutrients are going in our body. We are not smoking. We are not drinking. We're not eating unhealthy. We're doing everything possible to keep the physical body healthy. But we're talking about a spiritually healthy person who can extend to another person in a family unit. And one of the positive things, as Xavier's saying, is communication. Communication makes a healthy family. If a husband and wife are speaking and they are communicating solidly to the fact that there are no hidden agendas, there are no secrets, any and everything is always on the table to be talked about, creates a healthy atmosphere in the family. It definitely creates a healthy atmosphere between the husband and the wife, and we need to get this. And when I say we, I'm talking about the full-fledged Homo sapien males that are on this stage now. We've got to learn to communicate better. And if we learn to communicate better, then we're going to help the entire family to be healthy. So it's important that we are, I believe, one of the essential ingredients to helping someone else to be healthy, helping yourself to be healthy, is to make sure that you are a communicator in the household. It's very difficult to understand sometimes from our children's perspective that what they mean. You know, their dialogue is a little different from ours. Their slang is a little different. We may be confused a little bit about what we thought we heard or what we thought we understood, and come to find out that they didn't really understand it the way we said it, and they thought it was a little different because our dialect was unusual or odd to them because we're not on the same communication. With that wavelength is a little different. So it's important that that kind of communication takes place with the family. So now dad understands son or daughter, and son and daughter now understand the communication from dad and mom and how this unit is to work. And then Xavier said something that was extremely important. It goes back again to prayer. Prayer makes a healthy family. The family comes together and understands that, look, there's challenges that are facing us. We can't do everything by ourselves, so let's tune in to the Father upstairs who can help us.
All right, and you just spoke about influence. All right, Brother Smarts, you got a mouthful.
Oh no, I was actually going to see what you got there with the influence. What you got for us?
Influence is what, piggyback off what Brother Wallace said. That's what it takes in order to draw someone to communicate better. You are influence to them. I'm going to give you an example. The first time I heard O.J. Shabazz preach down in a small community no bigger than this church building, back in 2014, I believe, I went to work the next day trying to speak, not like him, but more intelligent. And his speech and his conversation helped me to realize, okay, not just because I'm an African-American guy, but I'm a man in general that needs to have some more of a respect and a form of integrity about my speech.
That's right.
So when I communicate with people, they know what I mean. My yes mean yes, my no mean no, my might mean maybe not, but you know where I'm coming from. And so in society today, we're going to deal with this in just a moment, but influence is a powerful setup. Empowerment is another connection for building a healthy relationship. Empowering the next person to say, Brother Xavier, I know one day you're going to be able to dunk over me, but it's going to take you growing a little bit more and learning how to jump higher than I do in order to get to that goal and do the Michael Jordan. Excuse me, LeBron James. I know Michael Jordan is back then. LeBron James or Steph Curry. But then also it comes with some self-autonomy, allowing that person to make decisions for themselves. But we cannot neglect, hear me, Facebook world, those who are tuning in on YouTube, any family member that is tuned in with us, it takes that individual to realize that you are to display what is healthy in the process of your speech through influence and empowerment, but also allowing that person to make that decision to do it for themselves. Because we can want so much. I'm pretty sure Brother Wallace wanted his children, and may do still today, want his children to do so many different things. But he can only encourage and influence them and empower them so much to where they have to learn how to step one foot in front of the other and actually do it. But along the way, I know he's going to keep influencing them, keep encouraging them, keep communicating with them, keep empowering them to make the necessary self-autonomy decisions, lifestyle, approach about everything in life to gear for a strong family in the future. Because one day, he's going to be walking them down the aisle or walking their bride down the aisle, saying, hey, I give my son to you, and I know he's going to be the best one for you, and ain't no turning back after you say I do. So y'all done made this decision. I done trained y'all for the future, so y'all better make it do what it do, because y'all ain't coming back over here. Y'all can come to the church house, but y'all ain't coming to, so that's another story for another day. But the key essence is what makes a family healthy. We dealt with that. And prayer. As Brother Wallace Jr. mentioned, he said, that's not Wallace Jr., Lil Wallace, Xavier. he said, reset your mind. That's impossible. That's important, because when you reset your mind on some things, you can go back and reevaluate and say, you know what? I did that wrong, so let me do it this way this time. I could have did that differently in a better fashion. Let me do it this way the next time. And you're helping others along that journey. And what these two fine brothers mentioned as well, it helps a family realize that it starts from the man down, being that leader, that structure, so that the kids coming up see what's in the middle. So when they get to the head, they know what to do. Now, finally, we're going to go with the family. What does a family consist of? Anybody want to take a jab at what does a family consist of?
You want to take this one, Xavier?
Sure, yeah. A family consists of chemistry. I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to think what. Okay, a family is consists of chemistry. Reason why I say that is because they are good, and they have a positive. This is probably gonna be a new word for you guys. They have positive vibes, which vibes means they're bringing off good stuff. They're bringing off good things to other people, and other people might like that family. And so this family, if I would say this family might have good chemistry, they communicate, they pray every day, they go to church every Sunday, they're happy every day, they go on vacation, they laugh, they're just that one family that's just happy. The only reason why that family is consists of all those things is because of God, and so that's what I think is what a family is consist of.
Amen. Chemistry. We got a high school graduate using those big terms, chemistry. That's all right, man. I like that response. And I'm pretty sure the world got something from it as well, because a family has to communicate. They have to pray. They have to decompress, go on some vacation trips, and relax the mind to regroup, to do things in a better fashion, and also to continue to do some things that is working. So the key is, what are some of those elements that allows a family to function? Brother Smarts, what you got?
Well, looking at this, I think a family, how about this? Some of the best moments, some of the most peaceful times of my life have been with individuals who have no genetic relationship with me. meaning we're not blood. And those are still people who I consider my family. I consider you all my family. And I believe that a family, of course, will consist of individuals who you think, act, and believe in generally the same things that you have in common. Sometimes it's not necessarily, you work at the same job, but your principles are generally the same. If I believe in, sacrificing people and you are a full-fledged Christian, we're not going to gel too well, but I believe family of those people who have that chemistry, not just genetic, but those people who have spiritual chemistry as well. And I think some of those elements, or let me see, what does that say? What are some key elements that a family needs to function? Number one is what Brother Wallace talked about, which was communication, being able to communicate effectively with one another. And that's not always just verbalizing something that you think or feel, but that's simply being honest with one another. Sometimes Brother Wallace is hard on me, whenever I mess up something, or whenever I may be doing something well, but I could do it better. I think that's a key element, being honest, being able to communicate with each other. And most of all, just having the integrity, knowing that you are now a steward within that family, and that you have to display that integrity on a daily basis in order to carry out that stewardship fully.
Those are great points. What about a steward? You think what are some of the key elements? You think that person has to be a servant? What about the word servant? What y'all think?
Servant?
Yeah.
Absolutely. One has to be a servant. We have to be a servant to we are all essential servants. As brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, we are servants. Yes, we are children of God, but we are also servants. I did just want to touch base on this one, that I know we don't want to leave this word out, that is that function, that essential function or element that are needed to be function, is that word agape, love. It's that unconditional love. It's the time when she made you mad, you didn't leave. It's the time when you made her mad and she stayed with you. It's the time when the children made you mad and you didn't do what you thought you were going to do. The agape love is the glue, it's the cement that holds all of that together. And if it's there, that mortar is there that takes us and cements us together, then we're going to continue to function. We may have had a hiccup along the way, and hiccups will come along the way in a family unit. But yet we demonstrate that agape love, that unconditional love, regardless of what you do, what you say, how you say it, when you said it, all that stuff, we can still move forward as a family unit. That helps to make the family function. That helps for us to understand that a family can be consistent because of one of the essential key elements of a functioning family in love. It has to be. If it's not there, then nothing else is going to work. It's just not.
So all the money in the world I got won't help.
You can have all the money in the world, and it's not going to help if that agape love is not there. Because
can I buy my way?
You can't buy your way. You may think you can.
Can I put them on payroll?
You can put them on payroll, but they'll be able to quit you.
Now, if you do got that money, though, I would like to know that.
You looking for a job?
I got a quick question. We talked about functions. What about roles? What do you think about roles, like roles in the family? Oh, okay.
Brother Xavier?
Oh no. I had a question myself. Well, I'll answer the question then. Roles in the family. You have the father. He's supposed to be the head household, the rock, and then you have the mother, who's supposed to be the nurturer, taking care of the household, like taking care of the kids, cleaning, cooking, and etc. And then you have the kids. They play around. They have to learn. And
traditional family.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's how I see the roles. And I had a question as well. Oh, well, I had something to piggyback up on. What does a family consist of too? I had a scripture here. It was Psalms 28 chapter verse number 7. It says, "The Lord is my strength and shield." And just by saying those words, "The Lord is my strength and shield," that's strength, right? And next thing it says, "I trust in Him with all my heart." So what's saying there is that's basically being healthy. You're having that communication. So like having communication with family, you're also having communication with God as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last thing it says, oh, actually, let me finish it. I trust in Him with all my heart. And then the last thing it says, He helps me, and my heart is filled with joy. I burst out in songs of thanksgiving. And that is happiness. That's joy, and that's love. Yes.
Amen.
All right. We got another preacher in the house.
That's right.
That's all right. I appreciate that, man. And that's what society needs to hear, from a young perspective to an older perspective, and bouncing back and forward to realize how to cohabitate in a society where it constantly changes every single day. And going back to what Brother Xavier mentioned, looking at the basics as far as roles. Now I'm gonna go a little bit deeper for a hot second. When I go to my job, and every role that I have had and come in contact with people, as we started off from the beginning, we mentioned conversation. 99% of the time, the conversation always either start or somewhere in the middle, or even close to the end, where that person may say, "Oh, I believe in God." And I go back and say, "Well, we didn't start our conversation that way." Not in general, but the conversation that we may have, I look back and say, "Okay, so you know about God, so that's a great starting point." So the role is realizing where God should be in your life.
Right.
And then you're looking at your individual self, where you're coming from, which goes back to a little tree branch and say, "Okay, I came from mom and dad side of this tree." Your job, family. You spend more time at that job than you do at home. You go work the hours, maybe 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and you there with them people, so you got to get along with them in order to sustain, like Brother Wallace, to retirement. You got to work those hours. You got to put in that work. You got to make those connections. And as those connections are being made, this is how the family grows. We talked about the household family. Now I want to look at the household family and those who are not in your household, but they still consider your family. Watch this. Intimacy is one of the three things that families go through, and they love to embrace 99% of the time. The first thing is this: what does a member of the family, or how does a member of the family show intimacy? I'm gonna start off with this one. Intimacy is not just mom and dad getting together when the kids go to sleep, but it's about what they do that show their intimacy for affection, for love, for communication, for prayer, for that reset, to know that, guess what? Just because we in this household together and we are here to death do us part, there needs to be much more than just Simon says, "I need to clean up the house every day." Dad says, "I need to take out the trash on Fridays for the trash man come." Mom and dad say, "I better do these things when I leave the household and when I go to church and when I go to that grocery store with them." But the intimacy flourish even more of how you really connect with a person and an individual that taps into their emotional status. So the next thing would be commitments. Commitment is one of those things. You have to be committed in the form of intimacy. I just don't want to hear that you're going to give me $100 tomorrow, Brother Smocks. I got to see tomorrow get here to know that you love me that much to keep your commitment to give me $100 whole. I don't want 99. I don't want 99 and a half. I want the whole Benjamin Franklin. So guess what? It takes a committed mentality. And that mentality will help that person relax in comfortable state to say, we tight, we cool. Me and Xavier, we play ball on Fridays. I know he's going to be there every Friday to play ball with me. And if he lose, he's still going to come back next Friday because we got a bond together. And so he may ride his bike and decompress because he couldn't slam dunk on me last Friday. And then vice versa, you know. I'm not too versed in video games like I used to be. So if we play Madden, I'm going to be lost. What are they on now? Madden 2025?
Madden 25 actually already came out, like in 13.
Okay, see, I'm lost. I'm still on Madden 95. So guess what? They can beat me in some things, but then it also takes appreciation. Thank you for letting me know that you acknowledge my shoes today. I bought these 10 years ago from the Goodwill for $4.58. That was with tax.
Got some life out of it.
Yeah. Appreciation. Thank you, Brother Wallace, for that message last Sunday. Man, that helped bless my soul. I told 50 people, and 4 of them are coming to worship tomorrow.
Amen.
You see what I'm saying?
Amen.
Brother Smocks, I appreciate you, man. You did so much for me. I bought all that I could from you, and my wardrobe is tight now. I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? Brother Xavier, I'll be taking all your notes. So when I preach, I'm a hashtag Xavier Wallace Cash App. You know? But then also it takes affection. Affection helps that person to know, not just because you said what you was going to do. When you make a connection with a stranger that in some point in life call you their family, it was something that connected you to them.
Yeah.
And something that connected them to you so that it can thrive. And one of those things is this, a spiritual well-being. They look at it and say, I like your spirit, man. You just seem like you always upbeat. How in the world you come to work on time every day and everything gets straight and you got a smile on your face? Can't you see everybody else is in turmoil? Why can't you be in turmoil too? But I like your spirit because you're happy every single day. So that day when I just feel like being happy, I'm going to look at Brother Smocks and say, his spirit is always happy, so I'm going to be happy today. And those things, they happen because when you connect with people, it shows them that you for real. So now we got a close relationship. So that's what intimacy is all about. And to kind of expedite a little time, we're going to jump into the next one. How do you feel when intimacy is not shown? Anybody?
Well, absolutely. It doesn't make you feel good. You have done everything that you have above B. You have been committed. You've been appreciative to others. You've shown affection to others. Your spiritual well-being is there. And then all of a sudden you don't get the intimacy back. You feel slighted. You feel as though you've been shortchanged. It does not feel good when it's not reciprocated back to you. Husband, wife, family unit, children to their a father and a mother to their children have to show that type of intimacy with their children just as well as they do with each other. It has to be reciprocated back to each other in order for that family to not just remain strong, but to continuously be strengthened.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. So how can we help those who are not members of the body see this concept? Brother Smocks.
Well, I'm looking at the list here, thinking about everything. There's a couple of issues here, you know, especially with affection. We live in a society where affection is something that's not necessarily shown, especially for men, you know. Oftentimes, culturally, we're influenced by different things, and a lot of those things are maybe overmasculated, and some of these things can be interpreted as a weakness. So I think the first thing that you have to do is understand that this stuff is beneficial, that it's edifying, that you're going to get something out of everything that's on this list, and that it is extremely important that you utilize these tools and implement them into your life. And once a person is continuously doing that, and they're, as it says in Romans, the 12th chapter, verse number 2, the renewing of your mind. I've never renewed anything like a lease and kept the same thing that I had previously. Anytime I renewed a lease that I was renting, it was always something that they have to completely type up again, and I have to re-sign, so I think this is something that we would have to first adjust our minds and our understanding of in order to accept these things and understand that these are positive things. And then how can any individual, no matter what their background, implement this and understand the benefit of this? And it says, how can you show this in your daily lives? I think this is just a matter of doing it, effort, of saying, hey, I want to take that one-on-one time, that intimate time, whether it's, I could be a big, there's good people who are out there who may not know or go to, what they say, go to church, quote unquote. We understand that, the church are people, but understanding that an individual, there's good people that do, plenty of good works, but they may not understand maybe the spiritual well-being portion of that. Ultimately, it's just a matter of applying yourself, having making sure you have the right perspective of these things here and implementing them into your life. How can you be more intimate with an individual who may be outside of your family? You literally spend time getting to know them, being a good steward of the things that you have, whether it's inviting them into your home, giving them a safe environment, staying committed to the things that you have agreed to, showing them appreciation, and most of all, showing them love.
All right. I think that covers it. Intimacy. Facebook world, those who are on YouTube, those who are tuning in, those who are in the family close-knit. Intimacy is that bond that you create with somebody else. Not just sexually, but in all aspects of the relationship, what helps it to thrive. I'm going to give an example after we get finished with this next one. Conflict is a powerful word, and conflict, in so many essence, a mentality of a person that doesn't like conflict will say, you are being confrontational to me. Yeah. And they have the right to say that when communication is not the driving point. If there's no great understanding, if there's no elaboration of spending that time with the individual to know how to connect with them. So the first question is this: what does conflict mean, and how does it occur in families?
Conflict is going to happen. It's just going to happen in the family. It's the makeup of the family. It's just going to happen. There are going to be disputes. We are all raised differently. I always tell the story about the fact that when I washed dishes growing up, I used Dawn dish liquid, and my wife growing up, they used a different type of dish liquid. When we came together and got married, is it a possibility that conflict would take place because of dish liquid? Well, yeah, I'm like, why are you buying this color dish liquid? We always use the blue, and you're buying orange. I don't understand. And that just happens because of the fact that we're just different. We were raised differently, went to different high schools, went to different grade schools. We lived in different neighborhoods. We were taught different things. Some sat at the table and ate. Some sat around the TV and ate. Things were different. Some came on when the streets came in the house when the street lights came on. Others stayed out until they decided to come in. So those things kind of come into the family. And what does conflict mean, and how does it occur? How does it occur in the family is because of the issues, the differences in each other. So they're going to happen, but the communication is the key. Being able to sit down and talk through those things.
Let me not say I like conflict. I've grown to embrace conflict. I look at conflict as an opportunity. You know, this may be, some conflicts can end really bad. I'm sure we all know that. But if you have the right perspective of what conflict is, understanding that it's simply a disagreement, and sometimes it may end in a disagreement, you know. Most of all, as you mentioned, communicating with one another, with family. Brother Wallace just said there's going to be conflict. We're not going to agree on everything. Brother Wallace may like Trump. I may like Obama. No pun intended there. But ultimately, the only way, in my opinion, to fully resolve conflict is communication. And that communication has to be honest.
All right. So I think you guys have already covered how does conflict helps a family. You have to communicate. You have to talk and dialogue about things that will help everything to grow and to flourish. And when things grow and flourish, you know how to talk to one another. You know how to understand one another. For young people, you have the attention of the adults and what you say and how you portray them when you learn how to communicate. For those who are older, you'll understand the process of getting on a younger person's level, as young Xavier mentioned, the vibe. We know what vibe means when we had the vinyl, where the, you had to go through that stream and get we know what that means. But I appreciate that point. But you have to be able to vibe with one another and connecting. So when conflicts happen, soap, why do you use Dawn soap versus Joy? I want to know, can we just use Dawn? They got Dawn advertised on TV now. Don't do that. But you conversate and say, you know what? I see this is how you was raised, and that's fine. That's perfect. I tell you what, let's come together and see, what would be best. You think Dawn would be better or Joy? We can come together and talk about those things. You think I should come home before the street light come on? Okay, let's work in those areas. You think I should give in this aspect of making sure that our intimacy is constantly growing and the affection is there, the commitment is striving? Then in those aspects, we see this. Positive communication. Then we also see spending time with one another, getting to know them, knowing that, hey, I don't like blue cheese dressing, but I'll take ranch. I don't like fried chicken, I'll take grilled chicken. I don't like pancakes, I'll take a waffle, because it holds the syrup better inside the... But you get the chance to know those things when you spend time with one another. And finally, having the ability to cope and deal with stress and crises. Stress is a part of conflict. Would y'all agree?
Oh, yeah.
Crises is a part of conflict. Getting up at the same time every single day with your mate can be a conflict. That's what we're going to talk about right after.
Where, they just don't relate to it. They don't understand it. And perhaps I need to speak more, what's the word? Softer? Whipped creams and cherries, perfect. Soft words turn away wrath, as the Bible tells us. Sometimes the situation may determine how you communicate with somebody. If it's something real important, like perhaps a death in the family, you don't want to just yell that to a person. When it comes to communicating between the husband and the wife, I have found that knowing her is the best thing to do. If you know your wife well enough, you know how you can communicate with her. More importantly, you know how you cannot communicate with her. I learned very early I was just a little bit older than Xavier here, and just our basic conversations. And my wife did not tolerate yelling at all. You're not going to scream at her. She considered that disrespectful. She said, you can talk to me. Well, I never really got the opportunity to do it, but I was very clear of how you communicate with that person. So as long as you understand the individual you're communicating with within your family, and how they respond to that communication, I think you'd be good.
You know, Brother Mark said understanding, communicating. He said knowledge. It reminded me of what Peter said in 1 Peter 3rd chapter, verse number 7 about the husband. Likewise, ye husband, he said, dwell with them according to what? Knowledge.
Right.
According to knowledge. So you know what to do, and then you also know what not to do. That comes through what you had up there just a few minutes ago, which is conflict. Right. You learn now, maybe I shouldn't take my clothes off and throw them on her side of the bed. Right. Or maybe I shouldn't have left the top off of the orange juice in the refrigerator. Maybe I should have put that seat down on the toilet. So you learn those things that is according to knowledge. And then, you know, what's funny about that, Peter ends that verse up with saying, being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. You want your prayers to go up. You don't want nothing in between you and your prayers that go up to God. You praying for a new job, and the job is going to benefit not just you, but the entire family, but yet you have the knowledge, but you don't dwell with her. You don't treat her according to the knowledge that you know. You know the buttons to push, and then you know the ones not to push, but you choose to push those ones. Then you better get ready for some prayers to just sit here right on the ground and won't go no higher than the ceiling.
I had something to add on. I wrote down an example of this. This exactly relates to what we're talking about. I wrote down an example of a little brother fighting with the big bro. So I wrote down two options. Number A was to big bro will calm the situation, and he would figure out a way he would talk to little bro and calmly. Or B, big bro will add on to the argument and make the situation worse. Right. So which one would you guys choose, A or B?
I'd overexert my authority on my little brother. Absolutely not.
I would choose A. Because the situation is calmed and everything, and the conflict is gone after the situation's calm, and they're just figuring out what happened to get to that argument. So
you weren't talking about our household, were you?
No. It was just an example. Just an example. Yeah.
You know, I heard some hollering and screaming here not too long ago, so it sounds like B was chosen over A in a couple of cases. Yeah. But you want to choose, Xavier, you're right. You want to always choose A. Sometimes we don't choose A, but you will always choose A.
Yeah.
Conflict seems to be just a topic that we could probably talk about forever, but I do got one last question for Brother Wallace, Brother Schofield. Whenever you've had a direct conflict with another male in your family, what is the first thing you generally would advise to do? May not be the same thing that you did, or maybe something that did work for you. What would be the very first thing that you? That's just for us guys on this one. So, what was the very first thing you did, or would advise doing?
Knock them out. Don't talk to me that way. Y'all know, hey, look, who else wants some of Devo? Right. But with that in mind, that's a great question. Conflicts in families like that, when they come about, if we are not careful, I'm going to put this big word up there and we're going to talk about it in just a minute. Withdrawal happens when you don't resolve that conflict. Right. In speaking, it can be something simple. Why did you not bring the cards to the card game that we supposed to been playing this evening? I told you to pick them up. You showed up late. You look like you half out of it. You ain't ready to play. You ain't bring your partner. I got my partner. I was ready to whip up on you in some spades. And now we mad about the cards not getting there on time. because you can't control what that person literally does, but you was waiting on them cars to get there, and now I'm mad at you, and I really want to knock you out.
Gotcha.
But if we are not careful, it can be a simple fact of the matter. Hey man, let me run to the store real quick and grab some cars. I see you have some things going on, no biggie. I still want to whoop you up on this card game tonight and extract the positive, like Xavier said. You always got to look at the positive things, and I think that'll help. That's something that I would do, because I believe it'll strengthen the relationship versus getting mad. Because that person may get ticked off because they got something personally going on with them. That may have, got a speeding ticket on the way to get to the barbecue, and you didn't know they got a speeding ticket because they were trying to stop by the store on time, get to the house on time, go pick up their partner to come whoop up on y'all in this spades card game, and we didn't know that. The first thing we say is, I'm mad because you didn't bring the cards, you didn't do this, that. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let me let you know what I got going on. And then we can elaborate and get some understanding. Brother Watts, what you got?
I'm just laughing. I'm thinking about you talking about knocking them out. That's a tough one. It gets to a point where that conflict can definitely result in withdrawal, and that withdrawal can be something permanent. There are family members that haven't talked to brothers in years. There are family members that haven't talked to a brother or sister or another family member and have not for years, and that person does not have an opportunity to even try to reconcile that because, that person moved on to the afterlife. So it's definitely there, and it's a negative of conflict that is not resolved. That's why you get so many courses out there on conflict management, how to deal with conflict in a positive way and generate the feedback and still be able to keep production and positivity going in the workplace. Are always those things, because you take those classes because you absolutely know that conflict is going to take place. So it's going to take place in our families as well, but we have to know how to resolve those types of conflict to avoid this big word up here, which is withdrawal, where people are no longer interacting. Families do not meet together. When the family reunion takes place, only a portion of the family is there because this side of the family decided not to come because of the conflict that never was resolved, and nobody wants the resolution to take place at the barbecue, at the family dinner. Nobody wants to see anybody get knocked out at the dinner, at the family barbecue because of that. So the resolution has to take place. How that happen? There's got to be communication. Somebody's got to be the man. Somebody's got to be the one that's going to help to sharpen the iron. Iron sharpens iron. And you heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again. Iron does not sharpen cotton. What do I mean when I say that? Somebody got to stand up. Somebody's got to muscle up. Somebody's got to be the strong one. Somebody's got to be the iron that's going to be able to help sharpen somebody else. If not, then you have conflict. And if you have conflict there is no end result, there is no resolution, then you got withdrawal. And withdrawal nullifies the work of the church. If it does it in the family, don't you think it happens in the church as well, where elders can't get along with elders and deacons can't get along with deacons and preachers don't get along with the elders and elders don't get along with the preachers? Is that not a common thing that you see throughout the brotherhood now? Is that conflict never had a resolution, and because of the inability to resolve, you have withdrawal. And when you have withdrawal, you have a nullifying effect on the church, and it stunts the growth. It stunts the broadening of the kingdom, and folks are not brought to Christ.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I want to add to that as well, as we're trying to close out on the family structure, when we meet people, they're looking for something, whether it may be a benefit for their personal gain or whether it may be I'm looking for a family away from home. I'm in a new environment, I'm in a new stage of my life, and I'm looking to start things off fresh. That's the topic of our Saturday devotion, fresh start, family connection. And so when those connections happen, if we're not careful with that intimacy phase, and if we're not careful when conflicts come up, then withdrawal is going to be the thing that draws the decline of God's kingdom. So when members come, and those who just might be visiting may say, hey, I came because I heard about all the great things y'all doing over there at Eastside. Y'all are making sure that the youth are involved, the singles involved, the marriage people involved. Y'all doing something every day of the week. Y'all are staying consistent. Y'all are combating the things that the world says, and it's just a nice, close-knit family. And I'm coming from Massachusetts, and I just moved to Lee Summit, Missouri. I'm looking for a new family. If we are not careful when we make that connection with people, and we don't realize that when conflicts come up, such as, why y'all don't have mechanical instrumental music? Or why do y'all pass the collection plate 3 times instead of 1 time? Why do y'all preach for 45 minutes versus an hour and 15 minutes? My last preacher preached to midnight. Why don't y'all have a seat up there for the man of God to sit down so when he come in, he got a place to sit? Those things can become a conflict that leads directly to withdrawal because we're not making that connection. And so for those who may be visiting with us, you may be wondering, what's the purpose of why this is done? One of the greatest things is to help and to cultivate the mentality of many by demonstrating what we started off with. We started off with John chapter number 1, verse number 1 through verse number 5, which is the word of God. And so in that, we want to make that connection with everybody to say, guess what? God's kingdom is the place to be. God's house is the best family to be a part of. God's membership is the best group of people that can show you about intimacy. And when conflicts come about, please don't withdraw from us, because we all are a work in progress as well. And in those things, it helps us to see that we must continue to thrive by making a strong family connection. You got some strength that we need. We got some strength that y'all need. Y'all may know how to give better than we do. Y'all may know how to sing better than we do. Y'all may know how to go out and visit people better than we do. Y'all may know how to keep the membership in tune or keep that vibe going better than we do. And we need those things to help cultivate God's planet. This is God's kingdom. This is God's world. God created it for him. As we read in our text at the very beginning, everything that came into existence was created by God and for God. So, and we need everybody to have that connection with one another. So we have reached the end of our Fresh Start Saturday Family Connection. Any last remarks? Anybody want to close us out?
I got a question.
What you got? What you got?
I wanted to say something that when you do come upon those conflicts, you have to think on the situation. So like, if you come upon one conflict, you have to think, well, if I do this, then this will happen. And if I do this, then this will happen. So you always have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's coming from Acts 3:19.
Okay.
And actually,